The first Rope Curse movie, released back in 2018, was a big surprise. It was a very enjoyable, very easy to follow, violence-free supernatural horror film about two guys hoping to strike viral success by streaming the Rope Curse destruction ritual live onto the internet. And while the ending of the movie left it open for a sequel, I didn't expect it to happen so quick. The director, one of the producers, and a handful of the cast of the first movie have reunited for this sequel in name only, and the result? Well, it's actually not too bad at all. Hi, I'm the Artie Dans from Asian Film Fans, and welcome to this review of the Taiwanese supernatural horror film, The Rope Curse 2. A warning, there's some slight spoilers in this review, which will be marked with a spoiler watermark in the top right corner. Skip to the time frame mentioned to avoid. The Rope Curse 2 takes a slightly different approach to the first film. While the web streaming viral element is still there, it's not the key component of the film this time. Rather, in this movie, the main focus here is squarely on the Tai Demon, an evil spirit who possesses its host, causing him or her to be driven to suicide, with the curse then passing on to the next willing and weaker-willed person. The movie starts as the last movie ends, with two web streamers hoping to outperform the viewing numbers set by the rope ritual streamers. They are planning to call the Chair Maiden, an infamous Taiwanese urban legend, with the help of a girl, Chao Min, who has psychic powers. Chao Min has a difficult life, living with her aunt and abusive uncle who is found dead, hung from a tree. He is a victim of the Tai Demon, and alongside a Taoist priest who blames himself for the death of his master, they partner up to capture the spirit of the demon and return it to a sacred vessel before it claims any more victims. Supernatural horror films are a very particular genre of horror that you either like or dislike. When done right, they're really good, and for the most part this movie is done right, and thus it's actually pretty good. Sure, it has its problems. It really feels like a B-grade direct-to-video horror film, rather than a cinematic release. For reference, this movie was released in Taiwanese cinemas, somewhat. The acting is really hit and miss, with our two main characters being the worst culprits of some really wooden dialogue and action delivery. But funnily, it all works. Maybe I was watching this movie just at the right time where I was in the mood to enjoy something like this. Unlike the first film, the mythology of this one isn't as fleshed out, and thus can become a little confusing at times. The spirit's great, nice and evil, and at times there's a real Evil Dead vibe to the movie with the possession scenes. Interestingly, the movie is based on a real event. Not so much the possession scenes, I don't think anyone's claiming that evil spirits are a real life thing, but more the macabre story behind the mass homicide and suicide of the drug dealers shown towards the beginning of the film. It was nice to see a few familiar faces from the first movie, two of them playing very similar roles, and a few others playing smaller roles spread out throughout the movie, including the main character from the first one who's in the post-credit sequence of this one. If you like possession films, then some of the possessions in this film look pretty good, with some great wire work used during scenes as well. It's not original, but it's creepy, especially the demonic possessed voice that Auntie uses. And while the mythology of the evil spirit might be a little confusing, the actual movie itself isn't. The pace of the movie works in its favour though, not giving you enough time to dwell on the bits that don't quite make enough sense. There's spoilers in this section, so if you want to avoid them, please make note of the time frame in the watermark and skip ahead to avoid. While it was good to see the link between the first movie with the web streamers, ultimately they're wasted characters. They're forgotten about at around the halfway mark of the movie, only to be rushed back in at the end when the movie needs to explain a plot point to the audience. Didn't like this element. And as mentioned previously, it's the evil spirit mythology that's not detailed that well in this film. Specifically, what was the most confusing was how the spirit possessed people, why it was possessing people, and how many people it could possess at the same time. At one stage, it definitely felt like the spirit has possessed multiple people at once, which doesn't make sense for a spirit possession movie. And again, some of the acting is a little wooden and the movie does have a cheap feeling to it. It doesn't feel as polished as the first movie, but that doesn't make it bad. Surprisingly, this is quite an enjoyable film. Considering the disaster we've had in the horror movie genre in 2020, this movie, alongside The Call, were a great way to end the year. There's another Taiwanese horror movie that was released on New Year's Eve in 2020 called Hospital, which also looks pretty exciting from the trailer, which you can check out on the Asian Film Fans channel, and hopefully that sets a trend for 2021. My recommendation for The Rope Curse 2 though, it gets a thumbs up. It's not as good as the first movie, that's really good and well worth checking out, but it's good in its own right. If you've seen it, what did you think? Thank you for watching this review. Please don't forget to press the like button and consider subscribing to support the channel.